Okay, hello everyone. Am I audible at the back? Perfect. So yeah, that's me whenever I get back home from any conferences to home. So, today we'll be talking about cross-browser extensions. So what is a browser extension? Anyone? Okay. Probably we need more coffee in the house. So browser extension is anything that enhances the functionality of a browser, right? So browsers are based on very simple principle. One size fits all. Browsers are ported as it is, that can be used for by a developer, by a designer, by a businessman, by just adding few tools into it. And basically what I'm saying is browsers are awesome, but when they suit up with the extensions, they become superhero. So why are we discussing creating browser extensions and all about it for an hour or probably the whole day? Because JavaScript. It's simple. So initially the add-ons and extensions were built using SDKs and all this stuff, but as the advent of JavaScript, the browser extensions can be built just using JavaScript. So that's why we are talking about JavaScript right now. So what an extension can do? Take notes, create alarms, block ads, debug your website, color picker, so precisely anything you want. So how to get started with a browser extension? So this is a basically framework which we will be using for web extensions. I know it's a bit verbose, but the learning curve is a bit small though. So there's a manifest.json file. So it is basically the file which has the metadata of the add-on. Then we have content script, background script, page action, browser action, options page, and some web accessible resources. So let's start with manifest.json file. So as you can see, it has the metadata of the browser extension, like name, version, description, some files which we'll be using, some resources, and most important thing, permissions. For every extension, you have to permit to what it will be using. For example, if you are using storage APIs, you will be needing the storage permissions. So what are content scripts? Content scripts are something which are running on the browser. For example, if you have to interact with, if your extension wants to interact with the DOM APIs, you need something called as content script. Background scripts. So as name says, whatever runs in background is a background script. For example, if you want to use some functionalities which are not page specific but the browser specific, for example, creating a notification, that has to be done in background script. I think this is known by everyone. One or other add-ons uses this. Something called as page action, something called as browser action. So page action by name, something which is relevant to page itself. For example, if you want to create an extension which says, hey, bookmark this page, as simple as that. So that can be page action. And there's something called as browser action. Browser action is more of like toolbar button. It's more relevant to the browser itself. For example, you have to inject any script in browser on a click of a button. That can be done using browser action. Options page. So if you want user to add some preferences to their extension, that can be done using options page. It's a basically HTML page with JavaScript support where you can actually give user options to select something. For example, I created an add-on which inputs time. So yeah, that's option page. Now there's something interesting part, Web Extensions API. So this is the building block of an web extension. What happens is browser exposes some API which can be used in JavaScript to actually use the functions of browser within our JavaScript code. So let's discuss some of the APIs. First one is tab API. So as the name says, tabs. It's concerned with the tabs. With this API, we can create the tabs, we can delete the tab, we can detach the tabs, and more on top of that, we can attach events on it. For example, we want to do some action when a browser tab closes. So this is our API for that. Similarly, if you want to do something when the browser tab is open or a specific tab is open, so we can add listener on that specific event using this API. Next one is notification API. A number of times we need to throw a notification to a user. So when I do it with an extension, for example, I want to build an extension like, hey, remind me every an hour that I have to drink water. So that can be done using this simple API. So this is how a notification API looks. A browser object, a notification object, and it just tells it, hey, create this notification for me with some options. Let's say type, icon URL, title, message. Type is basically template. So there are different templates. For example, basic template which has message and title. There can be image template in which the notification has images. There can be list template where the notification can have list of items to do. Next one is BrowserAction API. So as we discussed earlier, BrowserAction is the toolbar button. Oh, this looks similar, right? So what it does is basically it gets you the complete control of the browser action button. So you can open the pop-up, you can close the pop-up, you can actually add a click listener when the user clicks the toolbar button. You can change the title, you can change the image of that toolbar button using this API. And in addition, one of the important things, sometimes you need to put badges. For example, there is some kind of counting. You are making a to-do extension. So you need to know how many to-dos are there. So you can actually have a badge on the top of the button using this API. So yeah, this looks like this. You can add listeners to it, and this slide will be shared, so just in case you don't need to worry about. So web-request API. So this is the most powerful. These thoughts are my own. So that can be, I mean, debatable, but I feel this API is the most powerful API. So as this name says, web-request API, it plays with the web request, the HTTP request which the browser throws. With the help of this API, we can modify the HTTP request, we can cancel the HTTP request, we can reroute the HTTP request, we can change the response headers, we can change the request header. So precisely we can say we can do anything with the HTTP request. And when I say we can do anything with the HTTP request, you know the power of the tool, right? Make sense? So do you want to see something in action? It's a lot of talking, I know, yeah, because you know the learning curve, we have to climb a bit. So I built a simple extension using these APIs, link painter. So it's a lazy extension. I don't know it will be useful anywhere, but just sake of presentation. So what it does is wherever it gets an anchor tag in the page, it just paints the background red. That simple. So what if I say this is the code for that? So again, as I said, I'm lazy. These are two files combined in one. First file is the manifest.json. Second file is the content script. So imagine this. For this approach, all I have to do is get all the anchor tags and change the background color to red. The idea is how to inject this code into your browser. That's where web extensions comes in. So the first file, manifest file, does that for you. So the metadata, name, version, description, icons. Manifest version basically it tells the browser which manifest version are you using, the previous add-on SDK one or the current one, Web Extensions API one. That's the only significance of manifest version. It's generally static. Coming back to this, content script. So content script is page specific. You have to actually take permission from user on which pages you will be able to inject the content script. For example, I have done all URLs. So it will be displaying a warning to user that, hey, this extension can do anything on any website of your browser. So what I'm doing is, on these URLs, that is all URLs, inject cs.js. This is the only thing that manifest.json file is doing. And once the page load is complete, the second file will be injected and something like this will happen. It's a pretty simple example, but think about it. You're actually injecting a JavaScript file into any web page. And when you can inject a JavaScript file into a page, you can do wonders. Hold your hands if you are with me on this. Perfect. So let's go to a second example, word counter. So I was tricked or probably forced to make this. Like my wife is a content writer, so she's like source of all my trouble. Like, or I'll put it. Okay, wrong thing to say. Please don't record. Please don't record. So she's okay. I'll put it like this. She is source of all my inspiration for my development work. So what happens is she basically gives me problems, right? Hey, I'm taking this much long to do this. You are dev, do something. And she really knows how to strike my dev pride, you know. So same happened with this. Like what she does was, whenever she has to write a content, let's say 120 words, she copies the whole content, go to any online word counter, she pastes it there. And that's actually a real problem, right? What if I can just do something like 2 clicks and you can know how many words are in their browser or whatever the selection is? Wouldn't that be cool? So that's where this add-on comes in. And this is the code for it. Okay, so again, let's look back. 2 files because I'm lazy. And first one is manifest file. So it's same as the previous one. It's just the difference is background. In initial example, we had content script. In this example, we have background script. So this is how we include. So this example says, like on any page, load this bg.js. So in this bg.js, I think I can have my, oh, cool. Can you guys see the pointer, everyone? Perfect. So this is the thing which creates a context menu. Context menu is basically the right click menu. So what I'm doing is creating a right click menu entry which says, hey, count me. Okay, and I'm adding an event listener. Whenever that menu option is clicked, what will happen? I created a function, count me, and in whole this thing, what I'm doing is I'm splitting it using spaces and counting the number of words, right? That's the easy thing to do. And once I've done this, I create a notification that says, hey, total words are this much. Make sense? So the only thing which we are doing with respect to Web Extension API is creating a right click menu entry and creating the notification. Rest all is plain JavaScript, right? So that's the beauty of it. With few APIs, you can use your existing JavaScript knowledge to create something really awesome and be a proud husband, you know. So here's the output. Select any text, right click, and it shows the output. Make sense? Thank you. Thank you. So we talk about security. It's like we have seen webRequest API, we have seen notification, we have content script, anything. So there are a hell lot of things which are happening there, right? You can actually do a lots of things there. So how can a user be secure about it? Like you can port any add-on, right? And people will download it. You can do almost anything. So what happens is whenever you install any add-on, probably this screen is seen by everyone, right? Whenever you install a extension, add-on, right? So this is a small step which actually every browser takes. And on the top of it, for Firefox, we have something called as add-on reviewers. Like whenever an add-on is uploaded in the addons.mozilla.org, there are a certain set of reviewers which actually reviews the add-on and check for like is there any security warning or any breaching, that kind of stuff. So that's about security. In addition, whenever you install an add-on, there are some door hangers, like this add-on will do this on this site. So that's a kind of secure, not 100%, because awareness is a thing. Not everyone looks at the warnings. For example, terms and condition. I know how many of us read, you know. So coming back to this, when you develop an add-on or an extension, what happens is, like, you cannot directly load it into your browser, because as I said, it has to be signed by either Chrome Web Store if you're deploying it on Chrome, or addons.mozilla.org if you're deploying it on AMO. So what you can do is, if you're in Firefox, you can follow this to test your add-on. So there is something called as about debugging. You can load your temporary add-on using your manifest file. And similarly on Chrome, you can go to extensions, load, unpack, and extension folder. So here's a small way of, like, in Firefox you have to select the manifest JSON file. In Chrome you have to select just the complete folder. So like, I'm an extension developer, and there are few more extension developers, and we are together lazy, so lazy that instead of writing every time, we actually created some tools which can help you to create your own web extension. One of them is WEB-EXT. So basically this is a tool created by Mozilla team. What it does is, basically it helps you to create a scaffolding project. In addition, it validates, it helps you with some APIs, and moreover, it lets you to test your add-on via CLI. So what happens is, this create a new instance, new profile for just testing, so that it may not hinder with other add-ons or extensions whichever you have deployed in your website. So this is the tool, and similar tool is webextensions.tech. This is created by Mozilla community people. This is basically a UI tool. What it does, it accepts few options, like what's the name of your add-on, what is the description of your add-on, and helps you to download a zip file, which is basically a scaffolded extension project. So once you are done with your add-on building, you want to publish it on probably AMO, probably Chrome Store. So this is a blog link where you can publish it. Here are a few resources to get started with the thing. That's it. Thank you.